This is TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast with your host, the Classic Rock Brainiac, yours truly, Terrence Rhoads. Sit back and listen to me gush over albums that I love that either had an impact on my life or rock and roll in general, and be rest assured that there's no country or rap nonsense to be found here. So welcome to another exciting episode of TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast. Welcome back, my friends, to the podcast that never ends. It's TJR here, Terrence Joseph Rhoads, here on TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast, aka Terrence Joseph Rhoads, for those who don't know. And today's episode is a bittersweet episode. I know I was supposed to have a AC/DC episode up, but this news just came out like a bolt from the blue. We just lost the Prince of Darkness, the king of heavy metal music himself, Ozzy Osbourne, who passed away on the morning of July 22nd, 2025, just a week after his final concert, Back to the Beginning, which I was a little harsh on my YouTube video, which I shouldn't have been, but I'll have to go back and give it a reappraisal. But today, in his honor, I figured I would talk about something in Ozzy Osbourne's history. Two of the albums that are known as classics in the world of hard rock and metal. And rather than do one episode, I'll do it, 2 episodes, I'll do it as one. And it's on the first 2 Ozzy Osbourne solo releases, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And I have a lot of stories to share about this album and my stories with Ozzy. If you know Ozzy history, he was born in December 1948 and raised in Aston, Birmingham, England, and had older sisters and brothers. So it was a large family. Money was tight, but Ozzy was, nowadays would have been diagnosed with ADHD or whatever, because he was always a hyperactive, dyslexic sort of cat. But his earliest thing to keep him out of trouble, because he was always getting in trouble when he was a kid, and he even had a job working in a slaughterhouse when he was growing up. So school was not his strong suit, but what was his strong suit was music. Because when he heard the Beatles, that was his ticket out of a life of crime. The Beatles, the Kinks, Cream, Led Zeppelin, they all helped shape Ozzy Osbourne's musical direction that he would go in for the rest of his career and the rest of his life up until his dying day. And during the time frame of 1968 to 1979, except for a little brief break in 1977, Ozzy Osbourne was the co-founder, lead singer of Black Sabbath. And I'll have more to say about Black Sabbath in a future episode, because I'll be doing quite a few episodes on them. And they released, with Ozzy as singer, the original lineup, 8 studio albums, ranging from masterpiece to crap. And I'll tell you, the great ones would be the first one, self-titled, which was the second most important album in the evolution of hard rock heavy metal, after the first 2 Led Zeppelin albums. Actually, it was the third jewel in the crown of heavy metal hard rock album birth. So after the first 2 Led Zeppelin albums came Black Sabbath. And Ozzy, along with guitarist Tony Iommi, bass player Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward, created the magic that was Black Sabbath. So that first album was a classic, and I'll talk about that in the future. And then followed it up with Paranoid later in 1970, or early 1971 if you were here in the States, an even better album, and it was their first top 15 album. I think it was their second top 15 album here in the States. And Paranoid went all the way to number 1 in the band's native England. And that album has War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan. I'll talk about that album and the first album as a 2-for-1 at some point. Then Master of Reality in 71 with Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Into the Void. A lot of great songs on that album. Volume 4, where the band kind of went more... Oh yeah, I almost forgot Children of the Grave, which would be an Ozzy staple in solo performances, as well as Iron Man from the previous album, in Paranoid. Then we had, in 1972, Volume 4, which saw the band get more experimental with Changes, Tomorrow's Dream, Snowblind, Laguna Sunrise, which is an instrumental I'm not too much of a fan of. Superzar, which is one of the best songs Sabbath ever made. And that had one of Ozzy's best vocal performances. Wheels of Confusion, The Straightener. A lot of great songs on that album. Then Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath in late 73, early 74, featuring the title track, Sabracadabra, Fluff, A National Acrobat, Killing Yourself to Live, Who Are You? I'm trying to think of the other something for today, Killing for Today or Living for Today. I'm trying to remember because I'm still trying to process Ozzy's death. And Spiral Architect, which was their fifth consecutive classic in a row. And then they had a perfect 6 for 6 with Sabotage, which is my favorite album of the original lineup. Hole in the Sky, Don't Start Too Late Interlude, Symptom of the Universe, Megalomania. If you're going to have an album side, that's one of the best sides of the 70s that come out. The Thrill of It All, trying to think, Superzar, that instrumental with the choir. So the band was getting more into progressive rock and experimental stuff. So they were getting away from the hard heavy metal, their early stuff, to go more into the prog thing, but it worked. Am I Going Insane? Radio Mental, another great tune. And my favorite on that album, The Writ. How can anyone hate that tune? Then came Technical Ecstasy, which I had done on an old show of mine, which was the Terrence, Reardon, and Friends podcast, which unfortunately I lost that audio, and I know I can do better. That was a great record. I actually love every song on that album, but kind of a step down from the previous 6. But if you all know, it's not as bad as everyone thinks. It's Backstreet Kids, You Won't Change Me, It's Alright. Gypsy, great tunes. All Moving Parts, Standing Still, about a transvestite, great track. Rock and Roll Doctor, yeah, I love that tune. She's Gone, which would precede Ozzy's solo ballad stuff and I think the influence for one of the songs on Blizzard of Oz. Yeah, another great track. And then Dirty Women, which Ozzy would continue to perform with Sabbath until the day he left this world. And I had the privilege of seeing Ozzy play that one. And then, of course, he left the band because of creative frustrations for a while in 77, plus his father died, so Ozzy just upped and left the band because Tony Iommi was rejecting some of Ozzy's ideas. What do you think about this? Don't like it. So Ozzy got frustrated and quit for a while. And the drugs weren't helping either. And then he did come back for Never Say Die, which was, according to Ozzy, the worst Black Sabbath album ever made. And I have to agree with him 100% on that. Side 1 of that album is great, but side 2 is where the wheels fall off. Because looking back at it, I know I did a review of it with my old podcast, and I did like it more at the time, but now that I've taken a number of years away from it, side 1 is great, side 2 is, dare I say it, crap. Never Say Die, Johnny Blade, Junior's Eyes, and A Hard Road. Those 4 songs, you have a great mini album right there. And then side 2 is where it just goes to complete crap. Air Dance, boring, Over to You, I'm over that tune. Breakout is like something you would have heard in the 48 Hours movie, and Swingin' the Chain was just, that was a band on fumes. And add insult to injury, Van Halen opened up for Black Sabbath at that point and kicked Black Sabbath off right in the ass and embarrassed and humiliated them on that 1978 tour. So then after the poor response to Never Say Die, which was their worst selling album here in the States, it sold even less than Technical Ecstasy for the record. Ozzy was let go from the band, and he went off on a destructive rampage of drink and drugs, staying at a hotel in L.A. And that was when Ozzy's then co-manager, now widowed wife, Sharon Osbourne, came into the picture and said to Ozzy, let's get yourself together. You have a future ahead of you. Don't let the drugs and alcohol ruin you. We can try and resurrect your career. So then Ozzy was like, all right, we'll give it a try. And what happened was, the upshot of it was, Ozzy, got himself somewhat sorted out, although he was still drinking and doing drugs, and got himself together a new solo band, which featured ex-Rainbow bass player Bob Daisley, drummer Lee Kerslake of Uriah Heep fame, may he too lay in peace, and guitar wonderkin from Los Angeles, California, who was no more than, I think, 22, 23 at the time, Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads, and according to Ozzy, looked like a little blonde mannequin doll, but played the guitar like a lunatic. So Randy was the lonely American in the band that became the Blizzard of Oz. And this lineup recorded 2 classic albums that to this day remain textbook classic albums in the world of hard rock and heavy metal. So the new band of Ozzy, Randy, Lee, and Bob went to Ridge Farm Studios in Surrey, England, with engineer Max Norman, who was a key figure in the early Ozzy Osbourne saga, working on those first 3 Ozzy studio albums and the 2 live albums, Speak of the Devil and Tribute. As engineer, and the band got down to the business of recording 10 songs, one of which would appear as a B-side for an album that would help resurrect Ozzy's career, that being Blizzard of Oz, which was released in September of 1980 in the UK. Its US release wasn't until April 1981, because record labels didn't want Ozzy here in the States until Jet's parent company, CBS Records, and their one of their A&R guys, Tony Martell, who was working at Epic Records, which owned Jet Records, was like, we'll give Ozzy a 1-album deal and see what the hell goes on. So then Ozzy and company released Blizzard of Oz, first in Europe, then the United States, and let's just say the album, I'll tell you how well the album did when I'm done with this review on the first of 2 albums I'm discussing, Blizzard of Oz, but my introduction to this album came in the good old year of 1984. By 1984, I was already a fan of Ozzy for a year, because my first Ozzy album was Bark at the Moon, believe it or not. And that album cover was Nightmare Fuel when I was a 7-year-old. The 2 albums covers that gave me Nightmare Fuel as a kid were both released in 1983. Kilroy Was Here from Styx and Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, the Robotos and Ozzy as a Wolf scared the crap out of me. So then what happened was, my family decided to try a trick, which was to take away the sleeve of Ozzy, this is Bark at the Moon, and just play the album, which they did. And on first listen to Bark at the Moon, I became a fan. And then I went back and got a few more albums in the next year. Second was Diary of a Madman, which I'll talk about in just a bit. I'll tell you my introduction to that album. But Blizzard of Oz I got a year to the day after Bark at the Moon. It was a belated Christmas present because my mother could not find the tape in the store because it was sold out. And go figure, the department store had Blizzard of Oz in stock after Christmas. And let's just say from the moment I first heard this album as a 8-year-old about to turn 9 years old, It was love at first listen, and the album was a masterpiece. And boy, do I love this album. And I have to talk about the songs, so I might as well get into my love fest for it right this second. And most of the songs are written by Ozzy Osbourne, Bob Daisley, and Randy Rhoads. So the first track on this album, which was written, if I'm reading who wrote it here, it was written by, just bear with me, I have the credits here. Yeah, it was written by, sheesh, I hit the wrong button. Remember, I'm banned from Wikipedia, so I have to use other sources here. It was written by Bob Daisley, Randy Rhoads, and Ozzy Osbourne. And the song I Don't Know begins with a backwards gong. Yeah. You think maybe the Nick from the Moody Blues' Days of Future Past and Ogre Battle from Queen with the backward gong thing? Anyway, it begins with a backward gong into Randy Rhoads' surefire riff, and Randy Rhoads, prior to Ozzy Osbourne, was in Quiet Riot. That was before they went bang your head mental health on the world. But Randy Rhoads was the original guitarist of Quiet Riot, and he joined Ozzy. And his surefire riff is just amazing. And the song was the first track on Blizzard of Oz, and it depicts the confusion and sadness Osbourne felt after he was let go from Black Sabbath, and it can be seen with some of the lyrics. And the lyrics here, I can read you. They were written by Ozzy and or Bob Daisley. So the first verse: people look to me and say, is the end near? When is the final day? What's the future of mankind? How do I know I got left behind? Then the chorus: everyone goes through changes looking to find the truth. Don't look to me for answers, don't ask me, I don't know. And the word no echoes into the distance. And the band's performance just kicking ass, and Ozzy singing his ass off. Next verse: how am I supposed to know hidden meanings that will never show? Fools and prophets from the past, life's a stage and we're all in the cast. Then the second chorus: you gotta believe in someone, asking me who is right, asking me who's to follow, don't ask me, I don't know. And 4 I don't knows. And then it goes into the bridge, which is slows down a bit, but my goodness. Nobody ever told me I found out for myself. You gotta believe in foolish miracles. It's not how you play the game. It's if you win or lose, you can choose. Don't confuse win or lose, it's up to you. And then 3 more, it's up to yous. Go, go, go. And then Randy Rhoads ripping a guitar solo out of nowhere, just shredding like a, pardon my language, motherfucker. Yeah, the odd profanity I can use here. But my God, this guitar solo Randy was just a genius behind that guitar. And then the third and final verse is a repeat of the first verse. So it kind of bookends with the first verse repeated as the third and final verse. And at the end, I thought he was saying, how long? And it turns out he was saying, I'm lost, after the final I got left behind. I think it's because the way the album, sometimes when without lyric sheets on many pressings of the album, you're like, what is he singing here? And then the final repeat of the first chorus, and just ending and kicking everyone right square in the ass. And Ozzy Osbourne thought of the song highly enough to use as an opening song on many solo tours. The Blizzard of Oz tour, it was the opening song on the first solo tour he did after that. Orchestral music. If you have the tribute album, you know what the hell I'm talking about. And then it was played on the Diary of a Man, on just about every solo tour Ozzy Osbourne ever did up until his dying day. And the song is also a classic rock radio staple. And yeah, I prefer the original mix of the track, not the revised, remixed version that was done in 2002, because Sharon was angry and being too cheap to pay royalties to, what are those guys? Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake. Sharon was a piece of work, but I'm not going to disrespect her on this review, but she did save Ozzy, but on the other hand, she kind of pushed him to his early demise as well. Greed and ego on her end. But I don't know, great track, perfect way to begin this album. Not much more to add, I don't know, but I don't know why this song is so great, but it is. I don't know for the win. Next track is the first single from the album, called Crazy Train. And of course, the song, like the previous, was written by Ozzy Osbourne and Rhoads. And the subject matter of the lyrics is the Cold War, which was going on at the time between Russia and the U.S. Carter was in office when this album was recorded, and the album was released in Europe towards the end of the Carter administration and was released in America at the beginning of the Reagan administration. And the subject matter of the lyrics is the Cold War and the fear of annihilation that existed during this time frame. The song is saying that political leaders manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the public for their own greedy and destructive purposes. The mass media then spreads these lies, creating mass hysteria and making people's lives a living nightmare. And according to Bob Daisley, Randy had the basic riff, the signature riff, and we worked on the music together. He needed something to solo on, so I came up with the chord pattern and the section for him to solo over. Before it was called Crazy Train, before we even had a title, Randy and I were working on the music. He had his effects pedals, and coming through his amp was a weird kind of chugging sound. It was a phasey kind of psychedelic effect, this chugging sound that was coming through his amp from his effects pedal. Randy, who was into trains, he used to collect model trains, as did I. I've always been a train buff, and so was Randy. So I said, Randy, that sounds like a train, but it sounds nuts. And I said, a crazy train. Well, that's when the title was born, and then Ozzy was singing melodies, and he was phrasing exactly how he ended up, and I started writing lyrics to it. And it begins with Ozzy Osbourne's famous "All Aboard" and the laugh, in the echo plex on the laugh going ha ha ha, and then the rhythm section going gung gung, gung gung, gung gung. And then Ozzy going, and then it repeats the echo effect. I don't know why people do that. It sounds like they're going, yay, yay, yay. It's actually, you just say it once and it echoes. And then the vibra slap going on the third go-around of the bum, 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 bum. On the remix, it was replaced with a synthesizer, which was blasphemy. The original, you needed that kick-ass vibra slap. Hit by Lee Kerslake, the man. And then Randy's pick slide right into the surefire riff, kicking everyone square in the ass into the song, which just is one of his, best known songs. Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as foes. Maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and to forget how to hate. Pre-chorus, mental wounds, not healing, life's a bitter shame. And then the chorus, I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. Randy's surefire solo. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train, back to the riff. The second verse, I've listened to preachers, I've listened to fools, I've watched all the dropouts who make their own rules. One person conditioned to rule and control, the media sells it and you live the role. Those lyrics are still true today. I mean, they're so timeless. I mean, did you think back in 1980 when Kerslake wrote these lyrics, he had a crystal ball about what the hell was going to happen in the future? Some things never change. When people watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, either side of the fence, you turn in like the Red Hot Rider on the Bugs Bunny cartoon going, which way they go, which way they go? They go that way. So I have to be the Bugs Bunny of these clowns. Back to the song. Pre-chorus, mental wounds still scream and drive me insane. Then repeat of the chorus, and then the bridge. I know that things are going wrong for me. You got to listen to my words, yeah. And then into that guitar solo from Randy, which just rips at you. He was just shredding like a crazed madman. Randy Rhoads, man, oh man. And of course, after the solo, repeat of the opening riff into the third and final verse. Heroes of a Cold War, that's what we've become. Inheriting troubles, I'm mentally numb. Crazy, I just cannot bear. I'm living with something that just isn't fair. Mental wounds, not healing. Who and what's to blame? And then a repeat of the final of the chorus, more crazy guitar playing. Ozzy singing all the parts himself, the lead vocal, and the harmonies he does as well. So he was a phenomenal singer. Especially in this time frame, and on this album, he was doing all the vocals himself. So he'd be singing the main melody, then he would go in and harmonize with himself just brilliantly, I might add. And then the ending, the bridge riff is repeated as the song fades out. And then hearing Ozzy acting crazy going, ha ha ha, the ledge, the edge. As the song fades out. In the live version, it ended with another Randy Rhoads guitar solo. If you have tribute or any live Ozzy with Randy, you know what I'm talking about. And that's how Crazy Train goes. It was an album rock radio top 20 hit when it was first released. Didn't do well on the pop singles chart, but by then, pop radio was starting to go downhill with Air Supply. Album rock radio was where you were going to hear Ozzy, and because of album rock radio, Blizzard of Oz did what it did. And I'll tell you how well it did when I'm done with the review. And this song has been played on every Ozzy Osbourne concert up until his death. And he did it at his final concert at he did his final concert at the the Back to the Beginning. He played it. As he did, I don't know, but my goodness, Crazy Train, what a killer track. Not much more I can add to Crazy Train, but an epic song. Played an awful lot. In fact, Ozzy also played this song when at the kickoff of the 2005 New England Patriots football season. I think that was either before or after Kanye played. I know Kanye West got booed big time by Pats fans. They booed his ass. Then Ozzy comes on and the crowd cheered him like the gladiator hero that he was. God bless Ozzy Osbourne and God rebuke Kanye. Ozzy was the man. And Crazy Train, amazing. Now we come to a slow song. We slow the mood down a bit. A song called Goodbye to Romance, which was about Ozzy Osbourne being kicked out of Black Sabbath. And it was a very nervous time for the Prince of Darkness, not knowing if he could make it on his own. Well, we know how that turned out, as I'll tell you at the end of this review, and some of the controversies that surrounded this album's American release when I'm done. And not known for being a lyricist, Ozzy wrote this with the late great Randy Rhoads and Bob Daisley. And Bob Daisley said about working with Ozzy on the track, quote, Ozzy was fairly easy to work with. He was a bit down at first because he'd just been fired from Black Sabbath and he was depressed and he was unsure of himself. It really damaged his confidence from being fired from Black Sabbath. And then during a listening party on the 40th anniversary of the Blizzard of Oz album, Ozzy stated via his Twitter account about the song, quote, the title of the song came from the 1957 Everly Brothers song Bye Bye Love. And it was also his goodbye to his days in Black Sabbath, and was the first song that he wrote for the Blizzard of Oz album. Most people don't even know that fact. You wouldn't even hear from my old podcast. And I'm not using Wikipedia like my friend Michael Borland would say. I'm using Genius.com. And man, oh man. The first verse, yesterday has been and gone, tomorrow will I find the sun, or will it rain? Everyone's having fun except me, I'm the lonely one, I live in shame. I say goodbye to romance, goodbye to friends, I tell you, goodbye to all the past, I guess we'll meet in the end. And then the second verse, I've been the king, I've been the clown, now broken wings can't hold me down, I'm free again, the jester with the broken crown, it won't be me this time around, to love in vain. The chorus repeated again, and that riff from Randy Rhoads, man oh man. I mean, I think the first time I heard it, I actually welled up like a baby because it was such a beautiful piece of music. When you were hearing it as an 8-year-old going on 9-year-old, already in a rock and roll, like me when I was a child, it just moved me. I knew my life's calling was going to be rock and roll and hard rock and metal for the rest of my life, including this particular track. And then, of course, the bridge. And I feel the time is right, although I know that you might just say to me, what you gonna do. But I have to take this chance, goodbye to friends and to romance, and to all of you, come on now. And then Randy Rhoads ripping the guitar solo out of his body as if his life was depending on it. As if he was playing the last guitar solo on planet Earth, which was not the case. Then the chorus is repeated a third time. I say goodbye to romance, goodbye to friends, I tell you, goodbye to all the past, I guess it will meet in the end. In the third and final verse, and the weather's looking fine, I think the sun will shine again, and I feel I've cleared my mind, all the past is left behind again. and then a repeat of the chorus. And Don Airey, who was in Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow at the time, was the keyboard player on this album. And he plays that beautiful, amazing synthesizer solo on this track. And I think it's a Yamaha CS80 he was playing, that big beast. A lot of people were using the Yamaha CS80 in those days. And Don Airey was using it on his on this particular track. And the solo fades away into the distance as he just solos brilliantly with that synthesizer. And a brilliant synthesizer solo it is. And of course, the song fades out, and this song was played live in 1980 and 81, but it was dropped from Ozzy's repertoire for many, many years. The song should have been a hit single, but for some reason was not ever released as a single. But a beautiful track, and if you have the remastered version from 2011, you hear the guitar and vocal mix of Goodbye to Romance, which is just Randy's guitars and Ozzy's vocals. And of course, Ozzy doing the multi-track vocal thing brilliantly. Man, oh man, I well up every time I hear this damn song. It's such a beautiful piece of work. And if you don't like this song, you hate life. You're probably a fan of that Mother Canucker Justin Bieber, or the sausage jockey Justin Limbercake, or Limbercake. Terrence, you mean Timberlake? Whatever. That prick. And that Jezebel Spears. Yeah, I guess all the good people die before their time and the evil continue to live on, folks. But Goodbye to Romance, beautiful track. Not much more I can add, but a beautiful, beautiful song. Now we come to Randy Rhoads' instrumental called D, which was written about his mother. In this classical guitar piece, which Randy's first love outside of rock and roll was classical music, and he was a classical guitarist, and he just played brilliantly. And Ozzy wrote about the song in his autobiography, I Am Ozzy. Quote, Randy loved his mother very much. I remember when we were recording the Blizzard of Oz album at Ridge Farm, he asked if he could write a song and name it D in honor of her, and I told him to go for it. And the entirety of the song is made up of calm and peaceful guitar. The fragile nature of the song is probably caused by the fact that the track is written as a tribute to Randy's mother, also named in her honor. And he was very happy with including the song on Blizzard of Oz. And I think it's a beautiful instrumental personally. It would not be Blizzard of Oz without this beautiful acoustic track. There was another instrumental track recorded during the sessions that would not see the light of day until 2011, but I'll tell you which one that is when I'm talking about the bonus tracks. But D, beautiful, beautiful song. Now we get to the end of side 1 of Blizzard of Oz with the song that got Ozzy into a lot of hot water, called Suicide Solution. Man, oh man. And according to the varying sources about what the song was written about, according to Ozzy, the lyrics was written about AC/DC lead singer Bon Scott, who had just passed away earlier in 1980 from alcohol poisoning, whilst Bob Daisley claimed that he was actually writing the lyrics about Ozzy and his excesses at the time. And the main guitar riff came from Randy Rhoads, and loosely based on the riff that he had in his Quiet Riot days called Force of Habit. And this song is just da-da-da. And of course, Ozzy talks about how he and Randy created the song. We were at a party for a band called Wild Horses at John Henry's, a rehearsal studio in London. Everyone else was effed up, I'm trying not to use the F word, on one thing or another, but Randy was sitting in a corner experimenting with riffs on his Flying V. All of a sudden he just went da-da-da, da-da-da, and he shouted over, "Whoa, Randy, what the was that?" He just shrugged. I told him to play what he played again. I started to sing this lyric I had in my head for a while. Wine is fine, but whiskey's quicker. Suicide is slow with liquor. And that was it. Most of the song was written right there. The night ended with everyone on stage jamming. Man, oh man. You won't find that on Wikipedia, I don't think, and I'll tell you the lyrics. And yeah, this song is applying to those who struggle with the bottle. And I know a lot of people who still do. Wine is fine, but whiskey's quicker. Suicide is slow with liquor. Take a bottle, drown your sorrows. Then it floods away tomorrows. Evil thoughts and evil doings, cold alone you hang in ruins. Thought that you'd escape the reaper. You can't escape the master keeper. And then the first course, cause you feel life's unreal and you're living a life, such a shame, who's to blame, and you're wondering why. Then you ask from your cask, is there life after birth? What you saw can be hell on this earth. And then the next verse. Now you live inside a bottle, the reaper's traveling at full throttle, it's catching you, but you don't see, the reaper's you and the reaper is me. Breaking laws, knocking doors, but there's no one at home. Made your bed, rest your head, but you lie there and moan. Where to hide? Suicide is the only way out. Don't you know what it's really about? Now people, the bridge. Now the bridge is where things got a little hairy later on in the world. Now people, you really know where it's at. You got it, watch. And when a kid killed himself for listening to the song under the influence of drug and alcohol, the fundamentalist kid and then the fundamentalist family's lawyer who sued Ozzy thought he was saying, get the gun, shoot, get the gun, shoot. Here's what he was really saying, and you can hear the truth on this, folks. Get the flaps out, Satan. But it was whispered, Satan. And Ozzy Osbourne on his one Don't Blame Me video documentary goes, to be perfectly honest with you, we were just goofing around in the studio, and I was just, one day ad-libbing, and it sounded like I was saying shoot, but I never said get the fucking gun. It's hard to quote Ozzy without saying the F word, because he used profanities like it was going out of style. He was what you call a cussing Christian. God bless him. But yeah, eventually that got dismissed out of court because the kid was already a troubled youth who didn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. God, I sound like Don Henley of the Eagles. And, it's one of those strange dichotomies. People who are under the influence of drugs and alcohol, like, get the gun, shoot. It's get the flasks out, Satan. Man, oh man. So much you learn here. The classic rock brainiac again schools anyone who believes Wikipedia. And you won't find that on the liner notes of the Blizzard of Oz remasters either. And then a repeat of the final verse. And then the take me away, oh tomorrow you never give me flaps, no boxing, no flaps, nothing. And then the band just jams out as the song ends. And this song was played live on many Ozzy tours going back to the Randy Rhoads era. During his days with Randy, and the band would go into a guitar solo spot from Randy where he would just shred on that flying V like a mad lunatic. I mean, that guitar solo would just be going on for hours and hours, and you never wanted it to end. And then it was played live on the Diary of a Madman tour again in 1982, which then led into a triple solo by Brad Gillis of Night Ranger, who should have been Ozzy's guitarist, but he decided to go back to Night Ranger. He was a great fit in Ozzy's band as far as I was concerned. Speak of the Devil's a masterpiece. Brad Gillis just whammy barring, doing that crazy guitar solo thing. Then to a jam with him and Don Airey trading solos, and then Tommy Aldridge doing that drum solo only like Tommy Aldridge knows how. Man, oh man, oh man. And Suicide Solution, a tip about alcohol, kids, don't drink alcohol. Because what they show you on television, people having beers and all the good, they show you all the good shit. They don't show people puking, running red lights, causing a near-fatal wreck, slamming into a family of 5, fist fighting, vomiting all over the where. They only show the pleasure. They don't show the pain. God. And alcohol is Suicide Solution, folks. So if you have an alcoholism gene in your body, I urge you not to tamper with it, because if you drink and you snowball your drinking and or cocaine or drug use, you're screwed. If you don't and you can handle it, and or rarely drink, that's the way to do it. Suicide Solution, great track. Not much more I can say, but an awesome tune. And what a masterpiece from the Blizzard of Oz album. Now we get to the next track on Blizzard of Oz, you flip the album over to side 2, and we begin a song with a song called Mr. Crowley, which was written by Ozzy. I think was written by the whole band here. And the song was about the famed Satanist Aleister Crowley. And Ozzy was, up until the day he died, criticized and called a Satanist by many of these fundamentalist Christian scumbags like John Hagee, Kirk Cameron, that dumb bastard, and that other prick, what's his name? Jimmy Swaggart, who's now roasting in hell with Jeffrey Dahmer and Adolf Hitler and Mussolini. Where he belongs, that prick. Oh my goodness. And Ozzy, ironically enough, was a Christian. He was a Church of England born and raised guy, and he was a Christian up until the day he died. And on top of that, he would always say, God bless you, during every song in concert. If you've seen him, he'd be going, you all rule, God bless you. God bless you all. Oh man, that was Ozzy's famous quote. Or clap your effing hands, or I love you people, God bless you. Yeah, Ozzy was a Christian, alright. And most of those people thought him and his band were a bunch of galloping outlaws going to come into town and rape and pillage and destroy, but they were just there to play their show, their rock and roll, and move on to the next town. They weren't these outlaws that are going to kill your kids. Oh, man. And Ozzy talked about the song in Rolling Drone years later, and he goes, I never did this black magic shit. The reason I did Mr. Crowley on Blizzard of Oz was that everybody was talking about Aleister Crowley. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin bought his house, and one of my roadies worked with one of his roadies. I thought, Mr. Crowley, who are you? Where are you from? But people would hear the song and go, yep, Ozzy's into witchcraft, which Ozzy was not. He was a Christian. And it begins with that amazing synthesizer keyboard work from Don Airey, which was a series of Oberheims and, of course, the Yamahas that Don Airey was famous for using for. Into the song, Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head? Oh, Mr. Crowley, did you talk to the dead? Your lifestyle to me seemed so tragic with the thrill of it all. You fooled all the people with magic. Yeah, you wait on Satan's call. Then the second verse, Mr. Charming, did you think you were pure? Mr. Alarming and nocturnal report. Uncovering things that were sacred, manifest on this earth, conceived in the eyes of a secret. And they scattered the afterbirth, and then Randy Rhoads just ripping another guitar solo, I think from the heavens, just shredding like a madman. Yeah, classical guitar trained, but could shred like a heavy metal demon. Man, oh man. And Randy Rhoads' only vice in life was nicotine and the very rare drink. He didn't do hard drugs, folks. And then, of course, the third and final verse after that guitar solo, Mr. Crowley, won't you ride my white horse? Or as we say in Boston, white hoss. Mr. Crowley, it's symbolic, of course, or it's symbolic, of course. Won't you ride my white horse? Symbolic, of course. Yeah, the Boston, New York accent, you have to do the ah. Not or, but ah. Just kidding. Approaching a time that is classic, I hear that maiden's call. Approaching a time that is drastic, standing with their backs to the wall. And that little guitar arpeggiating thing. Classical music, yeah. So heavy metal's roots was in classical music. Those who say it was in the blues, get your head out of the ass and quit watching the lamestream media. It was classical music, you morons. And the final outro verse was a polemically sent. I want to know what you meant. I want to know what you meant. Yeah, and then Randy Rhoads' final guitar solo, which fades into the distance. Him just shredding like a man possessed. Randy just going completely apeshit on that guitar, shredding like man, oh man. He was like, he would have been on par with Eddie Van Halen as the newest guitar hero generations had he continued to live. But Randy Rhoads, man oh man. Again, this song, his guitar solo on this track, amazing, great, ass-kicking. Mr. Crowley, killer tune, not much more I can add. Next, we come to a song on the album, which was also written by all four members of Ozzy's original Blizzard of Oz band, called No Bone Movies, which tells the story about X-rated movies that used to be shown in movie theaters. And here, referred to as Bone Movies, is Randy Rhoads, who was the lone Yankee in the original Blizzard of Oz, called those porn flicks. And it comes in with a kick-ass riff from Randy Rhoads, with the rhythm section of Kerslake and Daisley right in the pocket, and Ozzy singing his ass off. Silver screen, such a disgrace, I couldn't look her straight in the face. Of blue addiction, I live in disgust. Degradation, I'm being eaten by lust. No Bone Movies, no Bone Movies, no Bone Movies, no Bone Movies, dun 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 dun. Oh my goodness. Then the second verse. Inspiration that's blue and uncut. Can kick the habit, obsession of smut. Voyeur straining in love with his hand, aka a euphemism for choking the chicken. A poison passion, pulsating gland. And then repeat of the chorus. And then Ozzy goes, flaps, into the only studio recording of Randy Rhoads playing bottleneck slide guitar. This is the only time in Randy Rhoads' recorded career I think I ever heard him play a slide. Because Randy was usually used to playing Mr. Shredfest. In the live version that's on Tribute, Randy's shredding like a mofo. But on this studio version, he's playing bottleneck slide, kind of reminiscent to something that Rod the Bottle Price of Foghat would have played. But ass kicking, and the only time you heard him play slide, but he did very well, considering Randy Rhoads is more of a shredder than he is a slide guitarist, but a killer solo it is nevertheless. And then after the solo, it goes into the third and final verse. I shouldn't do it, the guilt tells me why. I just can't stop it, I try and I try. X-rated demon that lives in my head. Hungry for boogie and he wants to be fed. Then a repeat of the chorus. And then the ending, Ozzy Scat singing, no bone movies. No bone movies. Man, oh man, oh man. This song is just catchy, hooky. I can see why radio would not ever touch it with a 39.5 foot pole. However, I think the song is ass-kickingly great. Awesome. Bludgeoning. It rules. And if no one likes it, sue me. And that's all I got to say about No Bone Movies. Alright, we now get to the song, the penultimate song on the original Blizzard of Oz album, called Revelation, Mother Earth, which was written by Daisley, Rhoads, and Osbourne. And it deals with the problem of the environmental damage caused by people to Mother Earth, a personification of our world. Also shows an apocalyptic vision taken straight from the Book of Revelations, which the song borrowed part of its title from. And Ozzy, about the song, in an interview almost 5 years ago, said that, quote, about the song, you think we would have learned to treat Mother Earth better since the song was originally written. Unfortunately, I think we actually treat her worse now, end quote. Well, some things haven't changed. Climate change, red tide, you name it, it's going on, even more so today. And it begins with Randy Rhoads' classical guitar arpeggiating thing with the keyboards of Don Airey, kind of creating an orchestra sort of thing. And then the rhythm section of Kerslake and Daisley comes in, and Ozzy for the second song in a row with no effects on his voice, no flange, no nothing. Mother, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. Looking back in history's books, it seems it's nothing new. Oh, let my mother live. And then, of course, heaven is for heroes, and hell is full of fools. You got that right. Sorry if I was singing it. It's such a beautiful piece. Stupidity, no will to live, they're breaking God's own rules, please let my mother live. And then all of a sudden it goes into the Father of all creation, I think we're all going wrong. Man, the path they're taking seems to be breaking, and it won't take too long. Oh my goodness. Alternating between E and B flat in this section here. Children of the future watching empires fall. Madness, the cup they drink from. Self-destruction, the toll. Da-da-dun. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then the last verse. I had a vision. I saw the world burn. And the seas had turned red. Da-da-da. the sun had fallen, the final curtain, in the land of the dead. See, I'm singing the damn thing. Mother, please show the children before it's too late to fight each other. There's no one winning, we must fight all the hate. Man, oh man. Da da da. Killer track. Do 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 do. See, this would have been something perfect out of a King Crimson or Emerson, Lake and Palmer melodic thing, where the classical music influence of Randy Rhoads right there. So yes, folks, heavy metal and rock and roll's roots were in classical music, not just the blues, but classical music. Into this piano keyboard solo played by the great Don Airey, who was about to leave, who was still in Rainbow at the time, but found the time during the break in Rainbow's recording and touring cycle to help Ozzy with this album, and he plays the piano on this track and all the synthesizers, which his solo just, man oh man oh man, kicks everyone right square in the ass. Then into the repeat of the do 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 do. Oh my goodness! For a few more bars, and it goes into this dun 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 dun. Oh my goodness! Into this ending section where Randy Rhoads just rips a guitar solo straight from the depths of hell, just shredding like his guitar was on fire. I think he was using that either as Les Paul or that flying V with the polka dots on it. Man, oh man, oh man. And yeah, this song was played live on many Ozzy tours over the years. Live version is on Tribute, as is live versions of every track on this album. I'll talk about Tribute a little later when I'm done with the review, because it's got to do with the timeline of the release of this of these two albums. But Revelation Mother Earth, great track, great deep track. In fact, my favorite song in the entire album that was not released as a single, and mercifully radio never played it. Because I swear, if radio had touched it, I would have gone completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like that bird in the Cocoa Puffs commercials. Then it ends with the gong hit, I believe, from Lee Kerslake, all the percussion stuff, Randy Rhoads' dive bomb, which segues into the closing hard rockin' track, Steal Away the Night, which begins with this into this kick-ass up-tempo rock and roller. Now I feel the time is right, love will flow like wine tonight, give your love and we'll come to you. If you feel that you and me could escape and hold the key to a paradise that's true and free, yeah, and then the chorus, steal away, steal away, steal away the night. Ozzy harmonizing with himself, him singing the melody, and then him overdubbing a high harmony part. Then, of course, his harmony going, you gotta steal it, come on, baby. And then the second verse, now I've met your honesty, you are here and I am free, broken chains have fallen all around. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Point my finger at the fools, broken chains. Point my finger at the fools, broken chains and broken rules. Let it be rebellion rules tonight. Yeah, and then the repeat of the chorus. And then into an amazing guitar solo after the chorus from Randy, just shredding, again like his guitar was on fire. Delivering a guitar solo that just kicks reconnaissance ass, as they say in the Marine Corps. Then the third and final verse, could it be a dream come true that now that I'm here with you, tearful eyes of joy, something new, yeah, run away with me tonight, dream the dream and light the light, happiness is what you give to me, oh yeah, and then the final chorus of steal away, you gotta steal away the night, done twice, and then steal away the night, and it ends with the da 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 da. And that's how the original album ended. If you had it on vinyl or cassette like I did, or 8-track cartridge like many people did back in the day, which is now worth a lot of money, and or the, what do you call it format? Oh yeah, the original CD, which I had in the early 90s, which was a late 80s, early 90s Jet CBS Sony Music Press, and then the 1995 remaster, done brilliantly by Bob Ludwig, and then the less said about the 2002 remaster, the better, and then the 2011 remaster, the song is there, and then after that, it's it's a song that didn't make the record. In fact, one other thing I forgot to mention about Steal Away the Night was the B-side of Crazy Train here in the United States. And they're like, wait a minute, that wasn't the B-side. Well, it was. Because if you were in England, you got this track instead. You were looking at me, looking at you. And this song is a great little up-tempo rave-up, written again by all 4 members of Ozzy's band. Reading this. And this song is just, tensions building in my head, nothing done and nothing said, talking to me with your eyes. What they say is no surprise. Things are so much different now, but nothing lasts forever. You looking at me, looking at you. I want to talk to you. You looking at me, looking at you. Oh my goodness. What a killer tune. Carry on from day to day, even when my touches seem to miles away. I know you. I know you know. I know too. Is it me or is it you? Things are so much different now, but nothing will last forever. What a great song this is. The bridge, the guitar solo. And this song should have made the album, but vinyl time constraints of the original vinyl record said otherwise. And when Blizzard of Oz was initially released, back in September of 1980 in the UK, in March 1981 here in the good old United States, the album did well in the UK, and it went to number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was either 21 or 22. It'll show the actual chart position from Billboard from 1981. Here you go. And the album went gold in just a few short days of its release. Now it's sold over 5 million copies in the US alone, still making it the highest selling Ozzy Osbourne solo album to date. And yeah, here's one of the reasons why it sold so well. Because just before its American release, Ozzy Osbourne attended a CBS Records convention, and a notorious incident that shocked the world caused album sales to spike. Because what happened was he goes to this event to meet all the powers that be at CBS, now known as Sony Music, and they're like, hey, how you doing, Ozzy? How you doing, Ozzy? And then Sharon Osbourne said to Ozzy, take these 2 doves and throw them up in the air as a peace offering. So he drank a bottle of booze, cognac. He was so wasted. He saw this press lady who didn't give a shit about Ozzy, and he's like, you know what? Screw this. So he takes the bird he had in his pocket and literally bites its head off. Oh my God. And the lady just stood there mortified. And as a matter of fact, Ozzy got kicked out of the building. CBS released the album anyway, and the album just took off like wildfire. The album sold huge, and Ozzy embarked on his first solo tour, and he did not do any, what do you call it? He didn't open up for anybody in the States. It was all or nothing. So his first U.S. tour happened in 1981 after the recording of the album I'm going to discuss next, which is Diary of a Madman. And by the time Blizzard of Oz hit the United States, Ozzy Mania had exploded big time. And I will talk about Diary of a Madman right this instant because it was recorded within the same time frame, or actually in the beginning of 1981 after the Blizzard of Oz tour. And then in between the release of Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman was an EP called Mr. Crowley Live EP, which featured a fake live studio track called You S.A.T.O, written by the band, and this was not on either Blizzard nor Diary, but not much backstory about the song, but a song that I like. It's a shame that Ozzy Osbourne didn't think of it much to include on either deluxe edition of Blizzard of Diary. I don't know why, because I think the song was catchy and hooky, a great tune, and although the man in question I want to thank hates my guts, I want to thank him anyway for introducing me to that track. I'm going to take the high road and address Dr. Fuck, aka Ralph Vieira of Rock Metal Combat. If it wasn't for you, I know you hate my guts, Ralph, and you want nothing to do with me, but thanks to you, I heard this song via you on your old radio shows, amongst other things, and I think it's a killer tune. It's a shame that Ozzy was just too stubborn in his lifetime to release the damn thing on an album. I think it would have fit either way, but If you can find that Mr. Crowley EP, folks, please do so. It's worth a lot of money. So after that was finished, Ozzy went back to work and with his band to record Diary of a Madman, which was recorded in early 1981 and just released and was finished just before Ozzy wound up sacking Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake from the band. So it was recorded at Ridge Farm Studios like the previous album, and this time produced by Ozzy, Randy, Daisley, and Max Norman. It was engineered by Max Norman, and the album, let's just say is just a masterpiece. It was recorded, but they delayed the release until November of 1981, which gave Ozzy the opportunity to hire a brand new rhythm section. And they had a keyboard player for the first North American tour where they played 2 songs from Diary before they were released, which they would wind up playing on the subsequent Diary tour anyway. But Diary of a Madman, top to bottom, masterpiece. And I'll tell you my introduction to that album. It started in either late February or early March 1984 when my father went on yet another military excursion to Boston and stopped at the local Strawberries Records and Tapes in Kenmore Square to buy his son a gift for being a good, well-behaved kid. And because I loved Bark at the Moon so much, I said, Diary of a Madman. He goes, okay, Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of a Madman. He comes home with the tape. And I swear to you, until the day the Lord strikes me down. Upon first listen to that album when I was 8 years old, it was game-changing, big time. And to this day, it remains my favorite Ozzy Osbourne album. And I've had that album on just about every format except vinyl. I've had the original CBS cassette. I had the late 80s, early 90s Jet CBS CD, the Epic remaster from 95 done by Bob Ludwig. I didn't bother with that revised version from 2002 with the re-recorded rhythm section. That was a sacrilege. And of course the George Marino remaster was also ass-kicking. And this album, from the front cover and the back cover, ass-kicking. It's the same band as the previous album, but more ass-kicking. What do I think of the songs? Well, I'll begin my love fest for Diary of a Madman right this moment with the drum fill of Lee Kerslake going at 900 miles an hour like an insane fool at that drum kit into Over the Mountain, which goes da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Man, oh man. And the riff is just surefire, and all 4 members of the Blizzard of Oz wrote it. And this song is just, works well as an album opener. And it was a set list opener on the subsequent Diary of a Madman tour. And of course the lyrics, over the mountains, take me across the sky, something in my visions, something deep inside. Where did I wander? Where do you think I wandered to? I've seen life's magic astral plane I traveled through. And then the first chorus, I heard them tell me that this land of dreams was now. I told them I had written shooting stars and said I'd show them how. The second verse, over and under, always tried to get away, living in a daydream, only place I had to stay. Fever of a breakout burning in me miles wide, people around me talking to the walls inside. Then a repeat of the chorus, sung brilliantly by Ozzy. And then the bridge, which Ozzy harmonizes with himself. Don't need no astrology, it's inside of you. You don't need a ticket to fly with me, I'm free. And then during the da-da-da-da-da-da, I thought he was saying, Ozzy. It was actually, I'm free. It was played by Johnny Cook on the keyboard vocoder thing. During live versions, of course, Ozzy would yell, down to the crowd. Into the guitar solo from Randy Rhoads, which he kind of borrowed the notes from Tony Iommi's da-da-da-dun-da-dun-dun-dun. Yeah, homage to Black Sabbath from the first Black Sabbath album, but played by Randy Rhoads, and then him just shredding, which multi-tracked him playing low and then him playing high. And then him whammy barring that flying V as if it was going out of style, just shredding like no tomorrow. And then Randy soloing as the rhythm section stops, and then the thing comes back in, and then we're back to the riff in G minor. over and under, in between the ups and downs, mind on a carpet, magic ride goes round and round, over the mountain, kissing silver inlaid clouds, watching my body disappear into the crowds. And then the final repeat of, don't need no astrology, it's inside of you and me. You don't need a ticket to fly with me. I'm free, yeah. Da, 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 da. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this song just, man oh man. And then ending with Randy Rhoads just ripping a guitar solo straight from the pits of hell, just shredding as if his life depended on it. And Over the Mountain was apparently released as a single, but sadly it didn't go nowhere. I think Album Rock Radio might have played it, but I'll need more of an Ozzy scholar to help me with that. Unlike then, but over the Mountain, perfect way to begin the album. It's got scant airplay on the radio, but the next song was the big hit off the album, and it was all over Album Rock Radio like flies on shit. The song called Flying High Again, which was written again by all four members of the original Blizzard of Oz band, which was, if memory serves me correctly, Daisley, Rhoads, Kerslake, and Osbourne. Yeah, and the song is about Ozzy's rampant drug use, particularly LSD, and it's filled with descriptions of confused and altered senses that accompany an acid trip. And there's some more anecdotes I want to share about this track. So you hear the, oh no, here we go now. Ozzy was supposed to double track, and he came in late on the first, oh no. It was supposed to go, oh no, and he came in late on the double track. That's why here we go, here we go. He screwed up on the double tracking. And then he said to the other guys in the band, leave it. It gives a character, and that's the mistake, and he left the mistake. Praise the Lord, because that's what makes the song unique and catchy. And then the verse, got a crazy feeling I don't understand, got to get away from here, feeling like I should have kept my feet on the ground waiting for the sun to appear. And then the second chorus, mama's gonna worry, I've been a bad boy, no use saying sorry, it's something that I enjoy, because you can't see what my eyes see. And then Ozzy in the high notes, I can see it, and you can't be inside of me, flying high again. And then back to the main riff, which Poison stole for nothing but a good time, those unoriginal bastards. I can see through mountains, watch me disappear, I can even touch the sky, swallowing colors of the sound I hear, and I'm just a crazy guy, you bet. And then the second chorus is a repeat of the first, mama's gonna worry, I've been a bad boy, man oh man. What a killer thing. And then the bridge, if you could be inside my head, you see that the black and white is red, flying high again, sung 4 times. And then come on and join me into Randy's amazing guitar solo, which he spent 3 days trying to come up with. He didn't sleep for 3 days, he didn't even eat for 3 days, because he was having a hard time coming up with the right guitar solo for the track. You won't find this story on Wikipedia. Only an interview with Redbeard, Ozzy did with Redbeard on the making of Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, I learned this tidbit. Randy stayed in the studio for days trying to come up with the perfect guitar solo, and when he had what he wanted, he would walk and he would have this big smile on his face. And then he said, Ozzy, check this out. And Ozzy heard the solo, and he's like, holy shit. Randy, how long were you up? About 4 days. 4 days, and you did the fucking solo? Yeah, most certainly did. I didn't sleep or eat for 4 days. I wanted to get it done for you. That's incredible, mate. Yeah, Randy Rhoads stayed up for 4 days trying to come up with that guitar solo. Yeah, it's a true story, but a great solo it is. Then the post-chorus of him singing, and then the chorus 1 at the beginning, which is, again, the double-tracked Accident, which is always great. And then the final verse, Daddy thinks I'm lazy, he don't understand, never saw inside my head, people think I'm crazy, but I'm in demand, never heard a thing I said. And then the repeat of the chorus, and then the flying high again, repeated numerous times, into the flanged guitar ending with the da 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 dun dun ding da 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 dun 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 da na 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 na, with all the flanging and all that fun stuff. I mean, And the song was a top 10 album rock radio hit, if I'm not mistaken. I have to use Billboard chart history here. I know the song was a hit on rock radio. Here we are. Excuse me. Remember, I'm banned from Wikipedia, so I have to use other sites here. We're going to the top rock. Oh yeah, mainstream rock airplay, which used to be called Top Album Rock Charts. And Flying High Again peaked at approximately, as I read this damn thing. Yes, folks, I'm live. The song peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Album Rock Tracks chart in January of '82. The song went to number 2 on Album Rock Radio. So yeah, pop radio may not have played it, but Album Rock sure as hell did. God bless Album Rock Radio. And this song just kicked everybody right square in the ass. That was one of the several songs in this album that actually had some great play on Album Rock Radio from this album. And also forgot to mention Over the Mountain peaked at number 38 on that same chart in March 1982. And Flying High Again, of course, the song was played live months before its release. And yeah, it was a barnstormer live, and yeah, you could tell they had fun playing that song live. And Flying High Again remained a setlist staple for Ozzy up until the day he left this earth. Now we come to the epic of the album, a song which I dedicate to Gene Simmons, a Kiss, who says rock is dead now. To quote Ozzy Osbourne, "You can't kill rock and roll." Yeah, this song is my fuck you to Gene Simmons, a Kiss. Alright? I apologize for swearing, folks, but Gene's one greedy, miserable bastard. The best members of Kiss were Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. Gene, greedy, money-hungry prick. No offense. But this song, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, man oh man, begins with the acoustic guitar arpeggiating thing, which is just, like I said, just begins with that. It's in the key of B flat and alternates between B flat and A flat. Man oh man, with Randy's classical guitars and Ozzy's plaintive vocals. How many times can they fill me with lies and I listen again, twisting the truth, and they're playing around with my head? Okay, the things they will do and the things they will say, but they never don't really understand. Tears fill my eyes when I hear all the cries for the reason today in the pre-chorus, and when the electric guitars come in, and they don't really even know what they're talking about, and I can't imagine what empty heads can achieve. And then the chorus, leave me alone, don't want your promises no more, 'cause rock and roll is my religion and my law. Won't ever change, may think it's strange, you can't kill rock and roll, it's here to stay. And the synthesizers from Johnny Cook kick in, back to the repeat of the music of the first verse. And then this verse is double track with Ozzy singing the high end and he overdubbed himself singing the low end. A trick he learned in Black Sabbath. Looking through eyes of time, mirrors reflecting their stories untrue, promises telling me all of my glory days overdue. How many times have I heard it before, and I'll probably hear it again. King of 1,000 nights, pawn on a table light, losing to you, and then a repeat of the pre-chorus. And then a repeat of the chorus, which just kicks in overdrive right into Randy Rhoads' amazing, I mean, bludgeoning guitar solo, where he just goes completely to town, like a devil possessed. And Randy was a Lutheran, but he played that guitar as if the devil inherited his body to unleash a guitar solo. And then more guitar pyrotechnics. In the last verse, there's no acoustic, but heavy electric guitars from Randy. And Ozzy sings, even the rhymes that they give me in times of confession ain't true. Outcome is obvious, all of them none for us, meaning you too. The things they will do and the things they will say when they don't really understand. Fear of rejection, I need their protection to making a stand. And then a repeat of the pre-chorus. And then the chorus is sung again. Leave me alone, don't want your promises no more, because rock and roll is my religion, my law. I won't ever change, you may think it's strange. You can't kill rock and roll, it's here to stay. Then a repeat one more time with some modifications in the last part of the chorus. Leave me alone, don't want your promises no more, with the synthesizer kicking in, because rock and roll is my religion and my law. won't ever change. May think it's strange. I'm born to rock and roll. I'm here to stay, and screams, yeah, into the final solo where Randy just goes completely insane. And you have to turn up the volume on your stereo to hear Randy's guitar solo just going, playing on and on as if he was possessed. Man, oh man, this song just, and the more I hear it now in light of recent events, and the fact that all but 2 musicians on this album are now no longer with us, it's kind of a bittersweet thing to hear the song now, many years later. But the song You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, if I ain't mistaken, it was released as an album rock single, and it peaked at number 41 on Billboard's album rock tracks chart back in February 1982. They didn't play it much because the song was over 7 minutes in length. I'd say, screw that, you still hear it on the radio anyway. Ozzy's Boneyard, episodes of In the Studio with Redbeard on the making of Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. The bearded one, Redbeard, played this one because he knew how great it was. God bless the bearded one. But this song, ass-kicking, brilliant, was not ever played live, but sometimes some of the best songs in the world were not ever played live. But a great song, nevertheless. Now we come to the side one closer, Runnin' with the Devil. Just kidding, just kidding. It's Believer. That bass riff sounds a lot like Running with the Devil. Boom, boom. It's actually in the same key. Boom, boom, boom. Played by Bob Daisley, and then the guitar harmonics by Randy Rhoads. Into this thundering track with Ozzy singing, watching the time go and feeling belief grow, raise above the obstacles. Rise above. People besiege me, but they'll never teach me things that I already know. I know. Dreams that have shattered may not have mattered. Take another point of view. Doubts will arise, though, like chasing a rainbow. I can tell a thing or two. You've got to believe in yourself, or no one will believe in you. Oh my goodness. Imagination like a bird on the wing, flying free for you to use. Okay, man. Oh my goodness. And this song is just, man oh man, what a killer rockin' tune. In fact, Ozzy did play this live a few months before the album was released. Listen to performances on Tribute. They'll give you a good, clear explanation that the song was played months in advance of the album's release, here in the States anyway. I think they did play it in England, but I know they played this in America a lot in the early days of just before the album came out. And then the bridge, I can't believe they stop and stare and pointing their fingers, doubting me. Their disbelief suppresses them, but they're not blind. It's just that they won't see. And then the final verse, I'm a believer. Oh, here we go. I'm a believer. I ain't no deceiver. Mountains move before my eyes. Destiny planned out. I don't need no handout. Speculation of the Believer. Man, oh man. What a killer tune it is. The way the song builds up in intensity, the way it continues, the way it flows. And even the ending where it's just, the band's just jamming on that thing in the outro. Just, man, oh man, oh man. What a killer rockin' tune it is. And furthermore, I also forgot to add that this song, like Flying High Again, was played live months in advance of the release of Diary of a Madman. So it means those who went to see Ozzy back in 1981, during the summer of 81, when Def Leppard opened up for Ozzy, and or Motorhead, depending on where you were in America. That was when Def Leppard had 10 arms and 10 legs, and Pete Willis was ass-kicking on that guitar. It was kind of like a hard rock AC/DC priest metal band. Touring high and dry, actually. Ozzy and his band played Flying High Again and Believer. And this was another song which a live version does appear on the tribute album to Randy Rhoads, and on the bonus live disc that came with, what was that album? The deluxe edition of Diary of a Madman that was released in 2011 for this album's 30th birthday. So all I got to say is Believer is an ass-kicking tune. killer way to end side one. And it was played sporadically on rock radio, I think. Maybe I'm confused with Dreamer from 20 years later. But either way, believer, killer tune. And yes, Ozzy was a believer in God and a Christian. And to those moronic sons of bitches, I'm going to go off of my soapbox right now because I can defend Ozzy in death. John Hagee, Haley Joe Osmond, what is it that, no, Joe, yeah, whatever that dude is. The one that bought the Houston Summit and turned it into his megachurch. That dude. Into that disgraced former child actor Kirk Cameron, who doesn't have what it takes anymore. You three bastards are a bunch of sheep. You might as well go bah on command, because you give people like me, I'm a Catholic, a bad reputation. And not all Catholics are evil. I mean, Catholicism is Christianity. It's different branches of Christianity. You know, you have Lutherans, you have Catholics, you have Jewish people. We can all coexist. Agnostics, atheists, Buddhists, we all coexist together because we're all human beings. And I have friends that are atheists, and by the way, I pray that they get to the other side, because I just have a kind heart. We don't discuss religion, because I don't want to turn into Richard Dawkins versus that dude from The Killers who I felt sorry for because Dawkins was just a mean, nasty jerk. But believer, killer tune, great way to end side one, and that's all I got to say about that. Now we flip over to side two. Now you flip the vinyl album of Diary of a Madman over to side two, or the cassette to side two. And we begin with a song called Little Dolls, which was written by, thanks to Genius.com here, again, all four members of the original Blizzard of Oz band, Ozzy, Randy, Lee, and Bob. And it begins with double-track drumming from Lee Kerslake, who was a beast on that drum kit. Sounded like a marching band. I thought it was like a marching band, but it was Lee Kerslake overdubbing and triple tracking his drum track into Randy Rhoads' surefire riff, and the song alludes to voodoo dolls and black magic. And Ozzy just singing his ass off. In the first verse with Ozzy singing, writhing and screaming, the pain just won't go, he'll show you no mercy. Your image in his hands, it's useless to try escaping his curses. And then the pre-chorus is Ozzy double track going, the pins and needles prick the skin of little dolls. And then the next verse, tortured and flaming, you'll give birth to hell, living a nightmare. Oh man, feelings of pity, you'll pray for your death, but he's in no hurry. Then a repeat of the pre-chorus, nowhere to run, your fate is in his hands. Your time has come, you'll live to his command. I'm warning you, the worst is yet to come. The killer who remains a mystery. Oh my goodness. And then the next verse. I that believe in the stories of old would never fight it. Vengeance and curses that play on our soul like something ignited. And then it goes into this instrumental section, which is, man, you'd be singing it for days. And then the bridge, you never imagined such a fate could follow you. You never thought it was true. And when your time, I wonder how you do. I wonder how you do. Your kind of trouble's running deeper than the sea. I wonder what you're going to do about it. You've broke the rules. You've been a fool. The little doll is you, yeah. And then the chorus. Nowhere to run. Your fate is in his hands. Your time has come. You live in his command. I'm warning you. The worst is yet remains a mystery. Oh my goodness. And then into the guitar solo by Randy Rhoads, which was allegedly a scratch track that he recorded with the intent of retracking later, but because of the pressures of getting the album out, he left the solo as is. And what a killer kick-ass guitar solo. Just shredding like his life depended on it. And then again, the repeat of the intro drum thing from more drumming from Lee Kerslake. Then a repeat of the first verse to round off the thing, and a repeat of the chorus. And then the ending solo with Randy Rhoads just going completely to town, only like Randy Rhoads knew how. And this song, talk about a great deep track. This song is one of the best deep tracks that Ozzy did on the on any of his albums. And yeah, Little Dolls, great track. I still enjoy it. It's one of the songs you don't ever hear on the radio. Praise be to God. But what a killer track it is. Not much more story about it, but an ass-kicking tune. That they would say in the Marine Corps, it kicks recon ass. Ooh, rah. Yeah, ooh, rah. That's the Marine rallying cry. Little Dolls for the win. Now we get to another closest thing to a ballad on this album, called Tonight. There's a lot of songs with this title. David Bowie had a song called Tonight, and eventually on one of his albums. Yeah, the album of 1984, he had an album called Tonight, and the title track was a duet with Tina Turner. And this was preceding Bowie's song of the same name by 3 years. Not the same song, but a different song. And this is the better Tonight. And don't get me started on the sausage jockey Billy Corgan and Smashing Pumpkins, because I hate that piece of shit. And this song here, the Ozzy track, was written by, like the previous much of the album, Daisley, Kerslake, Rhoads, and Osbourne. And it begins with, and it features Johnny Cook on keyboards. And he, of course, was formerly of Mungo Jerry of In the Summertime fame. John Cook was the keyboard player on this track, and he played a phenomenal synthesizer bit and piano work. So his keyboard here is more in tune with what Don Airey would have done had Don Airey not been distracted with Rainbow touring in support of their Difficult to Cure album. This is when Diary was recorded. But Ozzy on this track, like another track in this album, doesn't use any double tracking on the verses. Now I'm back out on the street again. It never rains unless it pours. Try to get back on my feet again. I hear the raging thunder as it roars, and then the chorus. Tonight, tonight, is it just a rhapsody, or am I right? Tonight, tonight, is it all a mystery? I just can't fight no more. Sorry if my voice is wavering. Then the second verse, I hear the question surface in my mind of my mistakes that I have made, time and places I have left behind, and am I ever going to make the grade? Then a repeat of the chorus, just beautifully, and then Randy Rhoads again, the star of the album, rips out yet another guitar solo that just grabs you right square by the balls and says, I'm an ass-kicking guitar god. And Randy Rhoads just shreds like his life depended on this track. And then after the solo is the bridge, as I beat my head against the wall, running round in circles in vain. I'm feeling 3 foot tall, you don't understand, I'm fading away. Man, oh man. Then back to the bum-ba-dun-dun-dun. Man, oh man. Don't want your pity or your sympathy, it isn't going to prove a thing to me. Good intentions pave the way to hell. Don't you worry when you hear me sing. And then the final bit of the chorus, and then Randy Rhoads again with another godly guitar solo, just... Man, oh man. Randy knew how to play. And Randy's just shredding like crazy as the song fades into the distance. And yeah, Randy just shredding like crazy at the end of the song. And the rhythm section of Kerslake and Daisley right in the pocket. And the synthesizer work of Johnny Cook and the piano work of it, ass-kicking. I had to drink some water because my throat was dry. But tonight, one of the best power ballads Ozzy ever did. Kind of like Goodbye to Romance on the previous album, but better track. I love Tonight. A deep track that was never released as a single, but my God, in my equation, it would have been a hit single. But in another universe, it would have been, but I don't think pop AM radio and FM radio were quite ready for this track. And sadly, Ozzy, I don't think ever played it in his lifetime, but man, oh man. You don't like Tonight, you don't like hard, real ballads. Tonight rules. Now we get to a song called S.A.T.O. S-A.T.O. I thought it was a Japanese term when I first saw this song title, when I first got the album when I was 8 years old. It said S-A.T.O. I said, oh, it's a Japanese lyric. S.A.T.O. Duh. Now I know what it stands for. Sharon Arden Thelma Osborne. The manager, girlfriend, soon-to-be wife of Ozzy for the rest of his life. And she was also his manager. And then T.O. is Thelma Osbourne, which was Ozzy's first wife, who Ozzy fell out with and divorced. And then it begins with the song, just a killer track. And actually, depending on who you ask, it could also mean Sharon Arden, Thelma Osbourne, or it's also standing for Sailing Across the Ocean or Sailing Away to Oz. You won't find that on Wikipedia. Thanks be to Genius.com for this information. I find another site that's better than Wikipedia. Genius.com, so you find some anecdotes. And I'll redo the lyrics, because this song is one of the few that's not in a flat key. It's in the key of E. And a fast-paced rocker that just kicks everyone right square in the ass. Now I'll find peace of mind. Finally found a way of thinking. Tried the rest, found the best. Stormy day won't see me singing. I can't conceal like I never did before. I got to tell you now, the ship is ready waiting on the shore. Dare to look, face the test, on the eve when you set sailing. What you've learned, what you've earned, ship of joy will stop you sailing. And then, of course, the second chorus is, it's a repeat of the chorus. And then it goes in this instrumental section with Randy just, again, ripping yet another epic guitar solo, which he's just... and going into C sharp minor for the solo, which is in the modulated key of, in the relative key of E, because it's C sharp minor, has that E element, because the song is in E. And then the final verse, wind is high, so am I, as the shore sinks in the distance, dreams unfold, seek the gold that's brighter than the sunlight. Sail away, see the day dawning on a new horizon, gold's in sight, shining bright, brighter than the sun that's rising. 3,000 sails on a high are straining in the wind. A raging sea billows this voyage coming to an end. Oh my goodness, and it ends with the band just rocking out and just kicking everyone right square in the ass. And just going on, and then all of a sudden it ends with the da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. What a killer rock tune. Again, should have been a single, but never mind. In my equation, it was a hit. And it became a hit again in my equation in '93 when I got the Diary of a Madman album on CD for the first time as a teenager. After being distracted with other aforementioned bands, of course. But yeah, S.A.T.O. A.K.A. yeah. With the depending on however you interpret the lyrics, great song. And now we end the album with the title epic. And like the songs before, it was once again written by, I read here, all four members of the original Blizzard of Oz band. And it begins with, classical guitar parts from Randy Rhoads, and was influenced by Cuban composer and classical guitarist Leo Brouwer's simple etude No. 6. The two riffs are very similar. And that goes into this, starts in A flat, and then it goes into this modulating thing in A flat minor, into da da dun 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 dun, and then the drums kick in and they're just rocking out. And then Ozzy double tracking the vocals, screaming at the window, watch me die another day, hopeless situation, endless price I have to pay. Sanity now, it's beyond me, there's no choice. And then the second verse is where you hear the title of the song in the album, Diary of a Madman, walk the line again today, entries of confusion, dear diary, I'm here to stay. And then the second chorus, manic depression befriends me, hear his voice, sanity now it's beyond me, there's no choice. Oh my goodness. And it goes into this weird musical section. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my goodness. It's like you're hearing a classical piece. Then again, rock and roll and heavy metal's roots were in classical music. Those who say it was the blues, tell that to Randy Rhoads. He was a classical guitarist. And classical guitarists tended to be more in tune with what heavy metal is all about. Then it goes into this bridge section, which introduces a few things that you didn't hear on the previous album. An orchestra and choir, kind of bringing back elements of Black Sabbath's Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and Sabotage experimentation with strings and choirs. And in the bridge section, which Randy's arpeggiating in the key of E flat minor. A sickened mind and spirit, the mirror tells me lies. Could I mistake myself for someone else who lives behind my eyes? Will he escape my soul, or will he live in me? Is he trying to get me out or trying to enter me? And then the various different things, and just building in tension with the strings, the choir, as the marching cadence of Crowley kick in, the and Crowley Daisley's bass going dong dong, and then building into an intensity where it goes back into the dun 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 dun. See, I'm singing the damn thing because it's so catchy and hooky. And then it kicks into Randy Rhoads' final guitar solo he ever recorded on a studio album on Planet Earth, where he's just shredding like his life depended on it. And man, oh man, oh man. And then the final verse with the strings being played as Randy's solo fades out. Voices in the darkness scream away my mental health. Can I ask a question to help me save from myself? And then the final chorus, enemies fill up the pages, are they me? Monday till Sunday and stages set me free. Oh, and then the final ending with Randy Rhoads is da 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 do 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 do, and then you're hearing the choirs singing it, and then the orchestra kicking in, playing, everyone playing except for Ozzy, of course, who seems like he jumped off the stage, and just Randy just playing that riff with the orchestra. Kerslake and Daisley just anchoring on drums and bass respectively, and the choirs are building in intensity, and it's the same orchestrator that did the orchestrations for ELO. And he was part of the Jet Records camp. And of course, Jet Records was owned by Sharon Osbourne's father, Don Arden. Yeah, and Jet was distributed by CBS Records here in the good old United States. And then the song ends with the final dun 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 dun. And that's how the album ended. And when Diary of a Madman was first released in November of 1981, the album did better than the previous album. Blizzard of Oz was a hit, but Diary of a Madman did even better, peaking at number 16 on the Billboard album chart, which up until that moment was the highest position Ozzy had in many years, probably since Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath with Black Sabbath. So this was the first time he was in the top 20 as a solo artist. It took him a while to get back into the top 20 status, but this album cemented his reputation as the hard rock heavy metal god that he would be for the rest of his life. And the tour to support the album started at the tail end of 81 and carried on to the beginning of 1982. The album went gold, I think, in December of 81. January of 82 it went platinum. To date has sold over 4 million copies in just the good old United States alone. And the title track, I forgot to mention, was also the entrance music for the subsequent tour. Watch the Speak of the Devil concert film, you know what I'm talking about. And only 3 songs from this album were played live during the touring cycle for the album, which were Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, and Believer. That's it. Just those 3 tracks. But 3 killer tracks. And then for the tour to support this album, the touring band was Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, Rudy Sarzo, who joined Ozzy's band in 1981 after Bob Daisley abruptly quit for reasons I don't know, and Tommy Aldridge, formerly of Black Oak, Arkansas, on the drums. So Ozzy now had a Yankee in the band. So now he had 2 Yankees, a Cuban, and a fellow Englishman. That was his supergroup. So he had the United Nations, because Rudy Sarzo was a Cuban American, and he, of course, had history with Randy Rhoads as they were both in Quiet Riot back in 1980 in the late 70s. So Randy was great to grateful to have his old Quiet Riot bandmate back in the fold, and it was that lineup that actually gave us the live recording of Tribute, recorded live in Montreal, released in 1987. But they also recorded a few other shows. I don't know if any Diary of a Madman shows were recorded professionally, but I do know that touring lineup did record shows during the Blizzard of Oz touring cycle in the States, and then Diary of a Madman tour. There's soundboards out there which kick a lot of ass, and the tour was going great until tragedy struck. And I think you all know what I'm about to talk about. The freak plane crash that killed Randy Rhoads, the pilot, and Ozzy Osbourne's seamstress, Rachel Youngblood. So rather than me talk about what happened, by kind courtesy of In the Studio with Redbeard, I'm going to let Ozzy tell you the exact story of what happened and how the plane crash went down, in Ozzy's own words. Ozzy, say what you got to say.
What happened was we did a gig in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we'd driven through the night from Knoxville, and we were going to do a show with Foreigner down in Orlando. And as it happens, the Buzz Depot is in Orlando, and we had to stop it off at the depot to get some parts for the bus. I think it was a jack or something. And I'd gone to bed very late that night. I was up talking to Randy till about the early hours of the morning. We were talking about, because he wanted to do his idea was to go to college and get a degree in classical music. And I said, well, wait until the end of the tour and we'll talk again. And we were just having a general rap, And I went to bed at the back of the bus with my wife. The next minute I know, I'm woken up with an almighty bang on the bus. It's like a terrific explosion, and I looked down the other end of the bus, and there was all this broken glass down the other end of the bus, and I said to Sharon, we've had an accident. I'm still thinking we're on the freeway. So I run down the bus, I look out the window, and we're in the middle of a field, and I'm thinking, I don't know where the hell I am. And I run back, put some pants on, grabbed my wife, and got off the bus, and the bus was virtually cut in half. And what had happened was the driver of the bus also had a private pilot's license, and it had a small airstrip on the bus depot. It's a big area, so he took the guys up to take an aerial photograph of the bus and whatever, and he made an error with one of his judgments and clipped the side of the bus with the wing of the plane and exploded into this big house. And the autopsy said that Randy was killed instantaneously, so that, it's tragic that he went, but it's nice to know that he didn't suffer at all.
Now, there was, besides your bus driver, who was the pilot of the plane, and Randy Rhoads...
There was my Sharon seamstress woman, a black lady, who'd worked with Sharon for many, many years. She was like a second mother to Sharon. And she was a 58-year-old woman with a heart problem, so she wasn't... I got all these rumours that one of your Ozzy's practical joke went wrong and all the rest. There was no clowning around by any of the people, because... Rachel, she's 58, she's got a heart murmur. She's hardly wanting to do loop-the-loops and things at that age, and with that condition of her heart. It happens all the time. It's just one of these tragic mistakes that does happen.
Man, oh man, oh man. If that plane crash never had happened, I think Randy Rhoads would have continued. He probably would have left Ozzy's band anyway, but he would have eventually come back to hard rock and be on par with Eddie Van Halen, all the great guitarists. In fact, Randy Rhoads, just for the 2 Ozzy albums alone, is a rock and roll legend. And sadly, we lost Randy in March 1982 in that plane crash, and that bus driver was loaded on cocaine and other drugs. What a dumb cuff. And Rachel Youngblood was a 50-some-odd-year-old woman with a heart condition, and to be flying around doing loop-de-loops was not a good idea. But Randy went up with her to reassure her it was going to be all right. So it's with bittersweet emotions I do this review in the memory of Randy Rhoads, who passed away in 1982, just a few months after this album was released, and also to original Blizzard of Oz drummer Lee Kerslake, who passed away just a few years ago. I forget exactly when Lee Kerslake passed on. But yeah, we dedicate to Randy Rhoads, Lee Kerslake, who passed away in 2020 during COVID on the 19th of September. And we also dedicate this now to Ozzy Osbourne himself, who passed away on July 22nd, 2025. Just 10 days after his final concert with Black Sabbath, the Back to the Beginning show, which turned out to be the final concert Ozzy would ever do. May all three of them be reunited in heaven. All three will be certainly missed. And pick of the moment, well, I'm going to have to stick with Ozzy. You know what? I'm going to pick these two albums, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And if you want to find a good version, go either with the 1995 remaster, done brilliantly by Bob Ludwig, or the original CDs from the 80s. They still sound good as well. And try to avoid, although it was remastered with the original mix, the George Marino remix was ear fatigue. Too loud, too compressed. But comes with a concert that wasn't on the Diary of a Madman Deluxe Edition comes with a concert that was not on Tribute. So I'm going to recommend those, any versions of that. The only versions of Diary I advise you not to buy are the 2002 revised versions. That was a sacrilege. And also I'm going to recommend the Ozzy Osbourne Live Tribute album, which features a show recorded in the summer of 1981, featuring the entire Blizzard of Oz album live, mostly with the lineup of Osbourne, Rhoads, Sarzo, and Aldridge, and 2 tracks with Daisley and Kerslake, which were No Bone movies, which had Randy Rhoads doing a regular guitar solo, just shredding like a mother, and of course, Goodbye to Romance, and an outtake version of D, which was that instrumental he wrote for his mom. So we dedicate this review to the memories of Lee Kerslake, Randy Rhoads, Dolores Rhoads, aka Ozzy's Randy Rhoads' mother, and to Ozzy Osbourne himself. May God bless all 4 of you, and this review is for you. And here are plugs for other radio shows and YouTube channels I want you to give your love to, and to quote Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator, I'll be back. Check out The Rockin' Tours with Guy Pratt and Gary Kemp, both from Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets. Also check out Eddie Trunk's podcast. How can anyone not like Eddie Trunk? It's humanly impossible. And of course the Chris Jericho podcast, Y2J for the Win. And the following YouTube channels: Michael Borland's Classic Rock channels on YouTube, John Bowden's various Classic Rock YouTube channels. He's awesome. Freeform Rock podcast with my buddy Mark Alden Taylor. That's recommended as well. The Villain Cult podcast with Roy Dam, Eric Lawton, and Mike Lockhart. How can anyone not like those guys? Classic Rock Review. That's recommended. The Professor of Rock. Darren Locke. He's recommended. He's funny. He's deadpan British humor, but God bless him. Melinda Murphy's channel's recommended. Brandon Snyder, great YouTuber. Pete Pardo, Sea of Tranquility. The Man, the Myth, the Legend. And my new favorite, JCM Led Zeppelin Stories. Jose is the king of Led Zeppelin, and the man who's got more copies of In Through the Outdoor than any other human being I know in my life. He has about 50 some odd copies of it. And his YouTube channels and his deep dives into Zeppelin things, awesome, awesome, awesome. And if you're not a Zeppelin fan, check out his channel. You'll be very surprised, guaranteed. Then again, he's the same dude who got me into Santana as of late. JCM, I want to thank you for that, brother. And you're more than welcome to come on my show, and you and I definitely will have to do a collaboration one of these days. We'll have to figure out the time and the place. So before I go, here's some recommendations for other podcasts and so forth and so on. I want you fans to give your love to, and to quote General MacArthur, I shall return.
Hi, this is Mark Alden Taylor from the Freeform Rock Podcast, where we rock and roll all night and party every day. Come check us out on iTunes and Podbean. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Chris.
And we're from the Decibel Geek Podcast. And if you love this... you'll love us.
That's right. Brand new episode every single Monday. You can find us on iTunes and at decibelgeek.com. And the best thing is, it's rock and roll and it's always free.
Mistress Carrie reporting for duty. That's right. After rocking the airwaves in Boston for 22 years on WAAF, welcome to the Mistress Carrie podcast. And if you love rock, this weekly podcast is for you. I'll introduce you to new bands that I think you are going to love and keep you in touch with the bands that are already your favorites. I'll take you backstage and expose you to the people behind the rock. Plus, we'll talk about everything else that we know and love, like motorcycles, tattoos, skydiving, hot rods, food, booze, and so much more. And let's not forget all of the branches of our military, our veterans, and first responders. Everything you know and loved about the Mistress Carrie show, but now I'm unfiltered and uncensored. Fuck yeah! And if you never heard me before, well, welcome to the party. Subscribe now so you don't miss Mistress Carrie podcast.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
Brain damage with Pink Floyd.
This stuff can give you brain damage.
Pink Floyd radio show.
News only is directed.
There is no downside in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all
Your controls are set to the Random Precision Radio Network. This is Freudian Slip, an hour of Pink Floyd. I'm Craig Bailey. Find us online at FreudianSlip.com. Write to us at pink at FreudianSlip.com. Freudian Slip is a Random Precision production.
You're listening to Nights with Alice Cooper. I think my S.A.T.O is starting to cut off the flow of oxygen to my head. And that's why I got so
temperamental with anyone who has the impertinence to question his wisdom, and hello, I pops his inner courier.
Hi, and welcome to In the Studio. Redbeard here with the stories behind history's greatest rock and roll albums.
You're welcome. Guitar up. 1, 2, 3.
Follow In the Studio on Facebook, at Redbeard Rocks on Twitter, and online at inthestudio.net.
Well, we've just about run out of time on this episode, but come back in the next episode and we will finally have the airing of Little River Band's first Under the Wire. And I have to do eulogizing for a lot of artists before I air it. And yeah, it's a shame we lost Ozzy Osbourne. And once again, I thank each and every one of you for tuning on into this, because it was a labor of love for me doing it. It took me days and weeks to finish it, but I finally got it done. But all I can say is we're going to miss Ozzy, and this review is respectfully dedicated to his memory and to the memory of Randy Rhoads and to Lee Kerslake and to Randy Rhoads' mother Dolores. May God grant each of them mercy and eternal peace. And for all you listeners, thank you for listening. I love you all. Good night. God bless you. TJR's Classic Rock Corner podcast was written, produced, hosted, so on and so forth by yours truly, the classic rock brainiac, Terrence Reardon. The intro music and the outro music is by the one and only Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin from the Death Wish 2 soundtrack. Copyright 2025 TJR Rock Sponge Incorporated, all rights reserved. Once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, Good night, my friends. God bless you.